Analyze this: Google Analytics for Windows Phone app. My name is Slobo, and you can follow me on Twitter at Slobo80, and you can also read my blog at koolaid.blogspot.com. My goal today is for the next 20 minutes to show you what analytics frameworks are available for Windows Phone, and also show you how you can create rich interactive reports and custom email alerts using Google Analytics. And if we have time, we'll check out Google Analytics APIs. Why would you want to use Google Analytics? You as a developer have limited resources, and you want to channel those resources into the features that your users like and care about. You have to understand your user base in order to provide good user experience. For instance, you need to know where your users come from in order to know whether it's worthwhile for you investing resources into localizing your app. And localized apps usually provide better user experience and have a higher sales. There are many analytics frameworks, and one of them is Preemptive. Preemptive used to be free, and it was using Dotfuscator to instrument the code, a utility. However, the reports were lagging and the portal was very slow, so eventually I abandoned it when it became a paid framework. Later on, I started using Flurry, but however, that framework, even though it was free, never really worked. It was at the early stages of Mango, and maybe that was one of the reasons. I heard that it's been fixed since, but I haven't been able to confirm it. There are many other frameworks that you can use. Some of them are free, some are paid, some work, some don't, but none of them are as good as Google Analytics in my opinion. Google Analytics is unique because it provides flexible, rich, custom reports and custom email alerts. And above all, it exposes a Google Analytics API that you can consume in any application you want. The way to implement Google Analytics is to use the NuGet package. There are two options at the moment: Google Analytics Tracker and Google Analytics for Windows Phone. I personally prefer Google Analytics Tracker because of the performance reasons. The startup time adds only 25 milliseconds to your app. It only adds 0.7 megabytes to the runtime memory and 65K to the ZAP file. So that is the package we're going to be using in our example. Let's jump into the code and see how we can instrument our app with Google Analytics. We're going to create a new project. We're going to keep it simple, 7.1, and we're going to add a NuGet package that we just mentioned. So we're going to search for Google Analytics. Here it is. Let's install it. I'm going to accept the terms and conditions, and it has one additional dependency. It has added Google Analytics Tracker assembly and threading tasks assembly. Now we need to create a reference, a global reference to the assembly so we can use it throughout our application. In the interest of time, I have already prepared the code that we're going to use. So I'm gonna copy it. And I'm gonna do Control Dot to add the namespace. Now that we have the reference, we need to look at the application ID. The application ID is unique ID provided by Google Analytics. So we need to go to the portal and create our ID. So here you see I already have few IDs created that I use, and now I'm going to create a new one. So we can call this demo video. And it's not a website. Now we have the ID. What you see here is the unique identifier for my application, and the tracking status is unknown. It's unknown because it takes about 24 hours for this to become active. However, I have created a one ID yesterday, so I have it ready today for the demo that we can use. So that's the one we're going to use, and that one is number 6. Well, we are ready now to add the code to our application. What we need is a button on our first main page. So we're gonna add one button and provide the user ability to buy our app. So we're gonna put buy me and create event handler. Track event. Track event accepts 4 parameters, and the first one is category. Category is used to group similar events. In our cases, we're gonna call it purchases. That is our group name, and the event name is gonna be, which is action, or the event name, it's gonna be button tapped. We may have other types of events associated with purchases, maybe app bar tapped or menu item or something similar. And the value we can say from the main page. And the last parameter is not relevant for us right now. Okay, so with every event we can also send 5 custom variables. Custom variables are key value pairs that we can send whatever we may be interested in. So I'm going to send some information about the phone. So let's see how we can do that. Custom variable accepts 3 parameters. First one is the index of the variable, so it's number 1. And second is the key, we can call it device. And for the third one value, I'm gonna add a couple helper classes that I've prepared that will give us the information that we are interested in. This one extracts the phone information such as the manufacturer's device name and others. And the second helper class is gonna extract the application version from the manifest file. So I'm gonna do that, add that one as well. And we can go back. So now let's do that. Let's use it. Okay. So anytime we send a track event, the custom variable will be sent along with it. And as I mentioned earlier, we can send up to 5 variables. So I'm gonna copy and paste 4 more variables so that we have more information to work with. At this moment, if I run the applications, click the button, 5 custom variables with their values along with our event will be sent to Google Analytics. So let's do that. Let's run it and see if it shows up in the Google Analytics portal. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the phone because the emulator for some reason does not register. Okay, let's go to the portal and see if we can see our, and we have to switch to our demo because that is the one that we are using. And you can see we have one event here, and this event right now appear right away, but sometimes it may lag a few minutes. So if you don't see it right away, don't worry, it may show up later. We can create different types of charts, and the best way to see the power of these charts is to look at another application that I have in the marketplace. It's called AppRank. AppRank is an application that provides real-time ranking of any app in the marketplace. So here you see 1 month of data with charts such as line graph, pie chart, and tables. Depending on what you need, you can use any chart you wish. So we have a daily usage here, device type in the table, and For instance, here we have visits by country. I'm going to create a new dashboard to show you how easy it is to create a single chart. One of the features that AppRank has is to ask users to review the app every 10 times they use it, if they have not already reviewed it. So I like to track to see whether people actually are willing to review the app. I provide them the options to review it, to say no, or maybe later. So I'm going to create a pie chart, and we want to group that by the answers the users provide. So that is event action, and we want to filter the actions only that are relevant to the reviews. So our category is called review. So that's called user reviews. And we can see that 66% said they would review it later, 22% don't want to review it, and 11% actually reviewed it. We can email this on the weekly basis. If we are not interested in coming to our portal every day or every week, we can just get this as an email. Or we can maybe export it to a PDF document. Even we can share it. So the reports are really powerful and flexible that you can leverage and be able to get the inside information how your app is used. Now that we have seen these custom reports, let's go now and see how we can find out how many users are using our app at this moment. So this is called a real-time tracking. So we're gonna implement that. In order to implement real-time tracking, we're gonna override the onNavigated_to event, because we want to put this event when our main page is loaded. So track page view accepts the page title. We can call this main page, and the page name, so we're gonna use URI. So once the page is loaded, the event will be sent, and we will know that our user is using the app. Let's jump to Google Analytics now and see if anybody's using the app. So nobody's using it. Okay, so now we can run it and see what happens if we run it on the, let's run it on the emulator first. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the device, and let's go to the, and we see it switched to number 1. So now we know that one user is using the app, and this will stay at number 1 for next 5 minutes if no other event is received from this device. We can also see where that user is coming from, what country. So we see it's United States. And another interesting data point is active page and page title. So that corresponds to the page title and the name that we sent. The last thing I want to go over and show you is custom reporting. Custom reporting, actually before we jump into custom reporting, let's see how we can do alerts, how we can create alerts. So for instance, we may be interested in knowing the alerts when our app crashes. So let's say we want to know when our app is having an issue. So we can go to custom alert, and we can call exception this alert, so we can easier differentiate it from other alerts. And this alert is going to be emailed to us, and we can add additional email addresses. And we are interested in exceptions, matches exactly. So we would have to have a category called exception in order for this alert to be valid. And we want to get this emailed if the number of visitors is greater than 0. So saving this alert will provide us an email every day if there is more than 0 exceptions. And the exception would look like similarly to this. So this is one of the samples. It has a date, account ID, profile, and alert title. In this case it's showing sales, but in our case it would show exception. Okay, now we've seen custom email alerts, 4 different types of reports, real-time tracking, and at the end I want to show you how to create rich interactive custom reports. So for that, again, I'm gonna go back to my other app, AppRank, because that one has more data. It's much more interesting to see that one. So let's create a new report, and let's call this one devices, because we want to know what devices our users are using, because some of them may be the ones that we want to customize our app for. So we're gonna care about visits, and we're gonna use custom variable number 5, and that's all we need to do here. So we get a chart, line graph, and we get a table with our usage, and we can see that Lumia 800 has over twice as many users as the next best HD7. We can add another dimension to it if we want to. Maybe we are interested about the country where those devices are used. And now we see that HD7 actually dominates per country basis. So United States uses HD7, and then the second one is LG. Let's plot those 3 against our cumulative line, and we can see here how many each devices are used on a daily basis. So this is nice, but it's static. Let's give it a little bit more flair by making it dynamic. In this graph, what you see is on the y-axis number of visits, and on the x-axis we're gonna arrange our devices in alphabetical order. So each dot represents a single device, but we want these dots to be proportionate to the number of visits, so we're gonna make them proportionate. And I want to have each device marked with its name, and in order to visualize how they are used over 1 month, we're gonna click play button, and notice how Lumia 800 is dominating, whereas HD7 and LG are trying to keep up with them. However, Lumia 800 is definitely the most used app for AppRank application. So now you've seen interactive reports, custom email alerts, real-time tracking, different types of charts and graphs, and all this information you can expose through Google Analytics API and consume in your app in order to be separated from the portal. So you don't need to come to the portal to see this information. You can get all the data in your app, and in order to do that, you can utilize Google Analytics Query Explorer to create the queries so you can easier implement in your app. So in this case, you see the data is already pre-populated with my account, and what we can do is we can enter the information here in order to generate the URL that we can use in our app. So here I'm gonna add maybe country, and metrics we can put visits. So we can see now, if I click get data, let me refresh the page. I'm gonna do country, and I'm gonna do visits, and we see per country how many visits we have. Now we can take this URL and copy it and use it in our app to get the data that we just saw. So this Google Analytics Query Explorer is very flexible that you can use to create the URL and test your app. I hope you enjoyed the talk, and you can always follow me on Twitter at Slobo80, and you can read my blog at kool-aid.blogspot.com.